So we're talking about people's deals as case studies. So when you're watching and listening to these, I want you to go through your deals or deals that you've looked at and think about the biggest takeaways that you've got from these people who are on, and email, comment them, and let me know. So today I have a really cool guest. I'm really excited. His name is Hugo Beardsall, and he is an experienced property professional. Starting out in London, in, dare I say it, he was an estate agent. I know, a criminal. He has honed his skills and since gone on to some very impressive things. I wanted to get Hugo onto the show because I know he wouldn't gloss over anything. And in his nature, he covers all of the bases, and I knew that he'd be an excellent guest. And funnily enough, he rang me before and told me he had this idea about his case study, and I absolutely jumped at his idea. So, hi Hugo, how are you doing today?
Hey Ryan, yeah, all good, thank you. Very well.
Fantastic. I'm excited to hear about your favourite deal. So shall we jump straight into it?
Yeah, of course. Like you said, I did want to just ring you beforehand just to double check it is what you were looking for. You know, property is one of those things where you go onto Facebook, you go onto any sort of social media, and everybody's posting about the latest deal they've done, which has gone perfectly, which has been incredible, money in, money out, you know, everything. And most of them obviously admit the difficulties that they had, and they omit quite important information. So they might have had a money in, money out deal, but they, you know, have, funnily enough, decided to not include their solicitor's fees and their broker's fees, because actually that means that it wasn't money in, money out. But I actually wanted to go, you know, it's like down a different tack, where it was my favourite deal was actually my first deal. And I think a lot of people probably say that, you know, it's what got them into property, et cetera, et cetera. However, my favourite deal was my first deal because that was the one which went the worst. It's the one I learned the most from. Actually, you know, I bought it. So I was at university at the time. I was studying geography at Sheffield, and it was my final year of university. My uncle had got me into property and had basically said, look, this is a fantastic way to get a passive income, as they say, and obviously a potential route that you could go down after university. Now, I absolutely loved the idea, and effectively, I went on a course, you know, property investment course, and I decided to give it a go, as you do as a third-year student. So I bought a house in Rotherham. I bought it for £70,000 off a sort of an elderly lady who wanted to downsize into a bungalow. It was a 3-bed semi-detached property, and it was worth about 100. So I paid 70. It was worth £100,000 done up. Now the idea was that I would do some refurb to it and sell it. Anyway, I was at university having a good time. I bought the property, not really knowing what I was doing, and I then sat on it. I sat on it for over 6 months without doing anything to it. So I bought it, thought I was the bee's knees for purchasing a property, nobody had ever told me about council tax, water bills, electricity, nothing, right? So I rocked up and I took a couple of my friends there and I was like, look, I own a house. Now I, you know, negated to tell them that, you know, my uncle had helped me very kindly. You know, he'd funded it, given me the cash to purchase it. And I was very fortunate. Now I had obviously agreed an interest rate with him, and I had done it, you know, the proper way, and I was going to do it the proper way. But even so, I thought it made me sound really cool, as if, you know, I just bought the house. So I took the friends to it, and that was the first time, sort of 3 months in, that was the first time I picked up a council tax bill. And I was like, oh, interesting. I then picked up another letter, and it was a court letter. And I thought, okay, interesting. I still didn't do anything. Now, all I had to do was I could have rented that property. I could have given it a lick of paint, rented it out. And in fact, I gave it to the lettings agents sort of a couple of weeks later and said, can you rent this out? And they could get about £400 for it, but I wanted £450. So I said, no, don't worry about it. And honestly, so I finished university. I bought it in the January. I finished university in the May. I started a new job, and I still had the property in the September. And And I remember being in a state agency, walking around London, the streets of London, on the phone to Rotherham Council, because I had received court letters and I was trying to pay back and trying to pay back the money that I owed them and obviously not go to court. And do you know what? I sold it for £80,000, I think, in the December. So I held it for just less than a year. And yeah, I paid, fines and things like that, but I still made probably about £7,000 worth of profit. I decided to paint it. 500 quid, I painted it, and that was it. The biggest lesson that I learned from that, and the reason it's my favorite, is because I learned you cannot just do nothing. You have to do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Rent it, renovate it, do something with it. But you have to take action, and do not bury your head in the sand. Because I buried my head in the sand with the court letters, buried my head in the sand with electricity bills, because A, I didn't know what to do with them, but B, I was naive and I just didn't think. And I could have made much more money. I could have put in a 5 to 7 grand refurb on that and sold it for near enough £100,000 had I done something with it to begin with. So that's why it was my favourite purchase.
Wow. So just delve into that a little bit. Do you know what? That sounds so similar to my first property transaction. Yeah. It was £100 grand house, worth 100, and I paid 70 for it. Strange, that. Very, very scary listening to you talk about that. Whoa. So how did you find this one? Was it for an agent? Did you know the area?
It was, didn't really know the area that well. Yes, it was through an agent. However, I've seen it on Rightmove. Basically, I got in contact with the vendor directly, and she didn't want to pay the agency fees. I don't know what sort of contract she was on, but she wasn't interested. She'd also seen an advert that I had in the newspaper.
Wow! So you put an advert in the newspaper, had you?
I has, yeah. Back in the day, I don't do that anymore. I haven't had any success since. And basically, she wanted to move. Her husband, and both of them, they didn't want the stairs anymore. They'd seen a bungalow they wanted to move to. They moved to that bungalow. They had the bungalow already. They kind of agreed it. They just needed to move as quickly as possible, which is why they took such a hit on the price.
Oh, fantastic! So they had a dream property lined up for them. I would ask how you knew what to do with it, but you've just kept it as it was.
I just kept it as it was. Now, the idea was, when I bought it, I was going to put a new kitchen in, a new bathroom, repainted, or your standard refurb, really. Nothing particularly great, just tighten it up a little bit. But I think it's probably a lack of confidence in knowing builders and things. And I could have got in touch with, investors that I knew in the area, but I didn't. But also, I was having such a good time at university, I just didn't think. And again, business is like that, isn't it? Nobody tells you what to do. You've got to bumble through your business, finding these things out for yourself. And then, of course, people give you little gems and wisdom, but actually, it's not like going through a degree where people are telling you what to do. It's not like having a job where people are telling you what to do. You have no idea what to do. And I found that to my cost.
That's a really, really good point that I really like, actually. Because there's no structure to it, is there? Oh. Like you say, when you wake up in the morning, there's not somebody going, you're going to be doing this, and this today, or this is what you need to do today. It all does come down to us. But secretly, we like that, don't we?
I absolutely agree. When I was sort of in the job, I hated being told what to do. Maybe I've always been a bit of a rebel. But I hated being told what to do when I thought it was wrong. As I said, I've done sort of property investment courses. And certainly when I was in a estate agency, I spoke to my manager about things like lease options and, perfectly credible, perfectly legitimate ways of controlling property in the UK. She'd never heard of it. She'd been in the business for 14, 15 years. And at that point, that was the point that tipped me over the edge to go full-time property and think, well, actually, I do have the knowledge here. I had no responsibilities. I just wanted to kind of push myself to do it. But you're quite right. The fact there's no structure, we like that. I get a kick out of the fact that I am up earlier than other people because I think, I'm being more productive or whatever it is. But there's no manual for for business at all. And again, that gives me a kick, because actually everything you create is you creating it. And yes, you can follow structures and follow other people, and kind of, you don't want to reinvent the wheel per se. However, it is you. You're the one. You're the person who's going to make it happen or not.
Yeah, and I really like that as well. And that's a really, really big lesson for anybody listening as well, to really, really take that in. So this was funded. You did a loan agreement then with your uncle?
Yeah, a very straightforward loan agreement. He had put compound interest in there, which somebody who I was sort of shadowing at the time pointed that out to me. And he said, "Do you know what compound interest is?" And I said, "No, I have no idea." He said, "Right, go back to your uncle and tell him to take that out." So I did. But yeah, it was a very straightforward loan agreement. He lent me the money, and the idea was that I'd repay him, obviously, from the proceeds of the flip.
Ah, fantastic. So I think, well, we've covered what happened. We've covered the end results. Is there any of the biggest lessons? I know you have covered them. Is there any you just want to reiterate?
Yeah, I think you can be. I think the biggest lesson to be learned is the fact of the matter. You have to do something, regardless of what it is, right? You have to make a decision, and you have to be clear with that decision. You can't, there's no good sort of thinking, well, I could do that, and kind of keep going back on what you're thinking. You've got to make a decision and stick with it. Yeah. And no matter what, making that decision is better than sitting in the middle and doing absolutely nothing. And I think that's a valuable lesson for not just property, but just for life in general. You see too many people, and you hear too many people saying they want to do this, they want to do that. They never actually make the decision to do whatever they want to do. And this is almost a metaphor for that. It's a case of, look, I made a bit of money, but I didn't make that much money on this flip. And it's like anything. If you kind of stick in the middle, you'll do okay. But actually, if you'd made the real decision to go for it, you may well have come up trumps and made a lot more money. I think it was a mark of the strength of the deal, actually, that I still managed to make money on that one. So that, it is a successful story in that way. But I think you've just got to, if you don't commit fully, then you're not going to reap the rewards. You will do okay, but you won't do any better.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's great advice for anybody listening as well. So guys, just do think about the biggest takeaways that you've got from this. And Hugo, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way of them getting in touch with you?
You can either get in touch with me via my website, which is www.hugobeardsall.co.uk. Alternatively, please do email me at hugo@mysourcinghub.com. They're probably the best ways of getting in touch. And then, if you want to Facebook me, absolutely, that's not a problem. I might be a bit delayed getting back to you on Facebook. It's not my favourite medium, only because despite the fact I'm supposed to be part of Generation Technology, Facebook seems to confuse me somewhat.
I love your honesty. I'll make sure that all of the links are added as well to the show notes, so people will be able to just click them. It'll open up an email straight to you, Hugo, and take them straight to your website. So again, thank you so much for coming on, Hugo. It's been an absolute joy.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.